Yo, what's up, guys? So in this video, I interview Cameron. He has done over 200K in royalties for 2020 with Merch by Amazon, and he crushes it. So make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up and enjoy the content. All right, guys. Yo, what's going on? Got a special guest here. Cameron, what's up, man? What's going on, brother?
Hey, what's going on, man? Happy to be here.
Yeah. He said Cam. I said Cameron. Cameron, what's up? So yeah, man, this is you've been in the Facebook groups, you've been in the Merch Momentum group, to be exact, cranking out some very long posts, and then not only that, you got the long posts to match the big numbers. So
they always start shorter and then they just kind of keep going. I don't know about cranking them out though. It's it takes a lot of time to just sit down and do that, so yeah, a lot of people appreciate it, but I'd love to do more content, so that's kind of one of my goals here. But yeah, Merch Momentum's kind of where it's been happening at. I've just created my own group recently, just so I don't have to ask for permission if I'm gonna post certain things, so I'll just kind of do my own thing over there.
Yeah, man. But also too, the most important thing, you're helping people. Okay, and this is like I told you at the beginning, that before we started press record, is help people with what they're struggling with, right? And you make those long posts very informative. And some people get mad because I can tell that you make it so informative and you're helping people, and that's not what you're supposed to do. And you're actually helping people, man. And I see it. You're talking about like the numbers and stuff like that and all that fun stuff, but we'll get more into that later on throughout the interview. So what got you started with, well, you want to say print on demand? You want to say Merch by Amazon?
Yeah, I guess it's like merch is kind of where my focus has been. Actually, I mean, I don't even remember where I first heard about merch, but I mean, this was about 3 years ago. So probably around this time of year, 3 years ago, I was just kind of dabbling in some print on demand. I was kind of in between like projects and trying to figure out what my next, I guess, startup would be. Cause I'm one of those guys that have always had some kind of side project or something like that. And just kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and just dabbling around with putting some stuff up on like Shopify, throwing some Facebook ads up and that sort of thing. Nothing really stuck, but I came across merch probably somewhere, just, came across, I don't even remember, but applied, didn't think anything of it, and got approved like a week later, but still didn't do anything with it. I let it sit for a couple months until my wife came home one day, my now wife. She works in a middle school. She's a school psychologist, and all the staff there had a shirt that had a phrase on it, just kind of a, motivational type things that, like schools like to put on shirts. And she was telling me about how all the new staff wanted them, but they couldn't get them because whoever made them stopped making them like a couple years ago, or whoever went out of business, something like that. And I'm just like, well, I could, I got this merch account. I could throw a shirt up if they want, just do them at cost so they could get shirts. Because, it was more about tearing up the account at this point. I wasn't trying to make money, and did that. And she sold like 35 shirts through work. So that was kind of like where it took off. And from there, at the time, they were, I don't remember, you remember when they were bumping up accounts when you only had like 25 designs, they would bump you up to like pretty big numbers. So I ended up getting to 500, tier 500 pretty quickly. And after doing a few designs, my second or third month at like hitting $700, $800, $900 royalties, whatever it was, I don't even remember what, somewhere in that ballpark, I was like, oh, this is like the real deal. Like you can actually make some money with it. And then from there, I just kind of started building everything out.
Dude, so in the merch world, it's called, that would be like the local merch, right? You kind of like got a lead, you help them with their problem, and then next thing you know, you started selling shirts to like the teachers or the principals or people, or the parents, whatever it was.
I think that's one of the best way to get out of the lower tiers, in my opinion, to actually go hustle. If you're waiting on organic traffic from new designs with 10 designs on Amazon, it's just, you're gonna be sitting for a long time. But it happened to like fall into my lap. As far as getting those sales and her selling them for me. So I didn't have to do a whole lot of work there. So I got pretty lucky, and they were tearing up the accounts much more aggressively than they are, of course, now. So, but that, in my opinion, that's one of the better ways to get out of the tiers. You just got to get those sales, whether you buy them out yourself. I'd personally probably rather sell them to somebody, you got a poker group or something you're a part of, make some t-shirts for, whatever it is, like you got to hustle a little bit. Because as much as some people like to say it's not about the tier you're in, as far as how many slots you have, I don't think that's true. The more slots you have is the more opportunity or more, I guess, strategies you can employ. I mean, you're at tier 10, you're going to do things a lot different than someone that's, like ourselves that are tier 100,000 plus, as far as niches you go into, product types, that sort of thing. So
Yeah. No,
first,
okay.
just get the sales out, get the tiers, and then you can start experimenting.
Dude, one of the biggest questions in the community, right? Because I'm a nerd, right? I like to look at the analytics and stuff like that. One of the biggest questions in the community is like, how do I get my merch account approved, right? And it kind of take it back just a little bit right there. Do you remember, like one of the biggest questions right now? How do you get an account approved in India? And I know we don't know that, but like as far as like, how did you get approved at the very beginning?
I'm trying to think what I even wrote, because it was just one of those things that I just like, do this for the heck of it. I don't even think I claim to be a designer, or some people say like, here's my portfolio. I didn't have one, so
Yeah.
I honestly don't even remember what I said, but
Did you have
wasn't
an
like, I'm a
FBA?
designer, here's my portfolio, check out all these designs. I'm gonna I promise I'm not gonna steal anything. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I think I probably had like a paragraph or two. And of course, what's happening now, how they're approving accounts could be completely different criteria than what they use then. No one knows what Amazon's doing. Everyone likes to pretend. As soon as someone says they know exactly what Amazon is doing, or hey, do this to get approved by Amazon, or to have your products over, whatever, it's like they don't know what they're talking about. Like, no one really knows what's going on. People at Amazon don't even know what's going on with the algorithms
Yeah.
and so forth. So
That's crazy because it's actually, that's pretty true. Like you kind of have an idea, and then if you test it this way, it may work. But then you test it this way, it may work too. But then you test it this way, but the next thing you know it, you improve your chances by testing it a few different ways, right? At the end of the day.
well, that's goes back to the tiers, right? Like, the more slots you have is the more chances of it. There was one quote I read recently that I wrote it yesterday. I was reading the 4 Hour Work Week, and it was, if you want to double your success, double your rate of failure. So you want to put more stuff out there. I mean, that applies to merch and just a lot of things in general, but
Yeah.
putting more designs out there, most of them are going to fail. I mean, you look at anybody's merch account, if they're selling 80% of their designs, I don't know what they're doing, but that's not going to be typical. Most of the time you're going to not sell, I'd say 90% plus of your design. So most of them are going to be failures. So you have to get used to failing.
That's interesting, man, that you say that, because then you get people like asking that type of question. I'm like, why even, like, that's not even like, you're focusing like ahead and focusing on something new. And I get it, like, oh yeah, I sell 80% of my or 60% of my designs on my account. I'm like, yeah, really? Yeah. What are you doing?
You're probably
Let me
leaving
see.
money on the table at that point. Like, if you're like only going for things that are like sure bets, you're definitely leaving money on the table. At that point, you're not getting into long tail and so forth, or different products. So I don't think that's the case for most people. I think most people are probably on the 90% failure rate or better. I don't know what my exact numbers are as far as that, but that's where you want to be at. You want to be
Yeah.
putting stuff out and just see what happens.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, man. So now, like, did you have an FBA account when you actually signed up for?
Nope. Nope,
Interesting.
just a standard Amazon account. I had a Prime account. Maybe that's it. You got to have an Amazon Prime, which may have something to do with it, as far like, if you just there's history there and they knew I was a real person, and there's buying history and so forth. That may have had something to do with it. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but
Interesting. Yeah, I never thought about it that way neither. That's actually pretty cool. Think about it. Like, this actually person that's actually purchasing stuff is not a fake. Like, they're trying to
yeah, it's like sign up for Prime and you can have a merch account. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, but that's just like, that's can be a actually testing way to do things too, right? Get a Prime account and maybe that's how it's working. We don't know, right? Just to
Yeah,
give you
yeah.
guys
No one knows.
Yeah.
I mean, apply and keep trying, I guess. Like, I see it all the time too. It's definitely one of the more common questions. It's just like, I don't know. I wasn't even like trying to do it, and it wasn't even on my mind. So sorry, I don't have better advice.
Let's just start it off like this. How much did you make with merch by Amazon in 2020? If you don't mind sharing with us, please.
Profits was, if I $212,000 in royalties and about $80,000 in ad spend from that. Expenses outside of that for the whole year, probably around less than $5,000, I would guess, 5 to 7. So we'll call it like 125 in profit.
So 125K. Damn. Okay. All right, I was just time stamping that for us right there. So, but that's crazy, man. And I said it at the very beginning because now I want to get the context out of you. Like I want you to drop the bombs. I want you to drop that fire. I want you to bring the heat. Don't be trying to sell me a course. Don't be trying to sell me a course at the end of this neither.
Don't even, no courses. Yeah, don't even get me started on that. Like that's. I'm actually really passionate about this. We can talk about it if you want to, but I believe in like free flow of information. And one thing I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, right? Like I had my first real business. I was mowing lawns when I was 12 years old. My grandma would drive me around to different neighborhoods, and she'd just sit in the truck while I'd mow the lawn. I'd keep the $20, and I didn't give anything to my grandma because I was a jerk. But that was my first like business, and like I've been doing that my entire life. So I'm 33 now. So the last 20 years I've been an entrepreneur of some sort with always some kind of side hustle, but most of those are failures too, right? Like most entrepreneurs aren't putting out one business and being successful. Most of those have been a failure. So I'm really passionate about it. Entrepreneurship just having fewer barriers to entry, and I think merch and just print on demand in general is one of the best ways to do that. It's not the only one, of course, but there are few barriers to entry, and it's something I think that literally anybody can do if you put the effort and time into it. Even if you aren't a designer. I'm not a designer. I think I put up like 3 designs on my account. So you don't have to be an expert in everything to make this work. You just need to put in the time and effort. But as far as like the courses things, it's like I want to make it easier for people to become an entrepreneur because it's freedom in a way.
Your problem solving.
Tied. Yeah, exactly. Not working that 9 to 5 is a lot of people are just hoping to have a 9 to 5, but being able to break away from that as well, I think that's really important. But so that's why courses I think are BS. Like I understand why people charge for them because it takes a ton of effort. We were talking about this a little bit, just how much effort it takes to create good content, time and money, right? So I understand like why there's I guess a demand for courses too. And why people buy them as far as having structured content. But all that content is out there available, maybe not in a structured sense, but it is all out there. I learned just like I didn't buy any courses or anything, and I didn't. Anybody new to merch doesn't come in knowing everything, so it's really just came down to research. I remember watching some of your videos when I first started and got my start that way as far as like keyword research and so forth. So
I'm just kidding. No, man,
it is true. And, since I've developed my own methods, but I've seen some of your more recent content too, and even still, there's still even after all my experience outside of that for my own business, and with Fanprint, where I was the CEO there and got to see just a completely different side of the business too, on a magnitude most people don't get to see. I don't know, where was I even going with this? I feel like I went on a few different tangents, but
no, you're good, man. This is what happens when you're an entrepreneur. You got all kinds of things you're thinking, you're going, your brain starts moving. But the thing is, it's just when you're just talking about the courses and stuff like that, and how everything and all the content's free online, and then how you're watching. You
don't need a course to be successful. Like you don't need some $1,000 or $100, any dollar. All the content is out there. But again, I don't really blame other people for doing it. It's just not my style. As far as I'd rather just put the information out there, and hopefully it helps some people. I think that's been one of my goals for this year as well, is just kind of put my information or my stuff out there more than I've done in the past, because there's a little bit of that fear too, right? There's always gonna be someone that knows more than you, right? There's people who've been doing this for some guy that's been doing for 40 years, and something I talk about is dumb because they have some better system. So it's like just trying to get over that a little bit too. It's just like putting it out there, because I know like my experience, I might take it for granted, something I know. I mean, that a ton of other people don't have that information or that experience, or can take something from that experience. So try and do a little more of that too.
It's interesting that you say it that way, because it's just like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like I sold a few things before, and I'm going to keep selling stuff. But the thing is though, all the content that I talk about, I already put it out for free on my YouTube channel. It's because, this is more of in a content format type of way, right? But it's like kind of you do this step by step, kind of holding your hand. Yeah. But a lot of the content that I've put out, like I've put out for free already, and that's just the honest truth. And someone asked me like, "Why are you selling this and this and this and that?" I'm just like, dude, it's free right here. You don't have to buy the
Yeah, I
damn
have
thing.
to. Yeah, and there's a
Yeah.
demand there because I mean, for
Yeah.
people that do need that step by step,
Hmm.
kind of
Yeah.
hand holding, that's fine.
Yeah, and then also to add into you, like you saying that, because always, and this is what I've learned too, and there's always more beginners than more advanced people, and you said that right there, exactly what you just said. And you're when you're coming in here with the type of attitude that you're coming in here with helping people and sharing your knowledge with what you're doing, you're gonna create competition with people like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. It is, I'm not like yes and no. You're not you it's easy for it's easier for someone to put it down because they can't do it and they suck. And that's the straight up truth. But you're actually doing the damn thing and you're actually helping people. There's a difference, right? And people don't
Yeah,
understand that. They rather put it down because it's easier to do that. It's hard to create content on a consistent month to month, week to week, day to day basis. That's hard. It's
it
actually a
is.
full-time job. So and that's where I'm getting at with that. And then when you're coming in here with these posts and you're like, boom, breaking it all down. This is what I did, and this is what I learned. And you're sharing the inside of your 125K. I think that's what you said.
Hmm.
Profit and royalties with your Merch by Amazon account. There's going to be a little bit of a you know what I mean? So he's not supposed to do that. So I think it's cool because that people love that type of stuff, man.
Yeah, I
And
hope
I
it's
think
inspiring, and I think it is. Like that's from what I see, everyone loves the bragging posts, I guess, which
yeah,
I don't think they're necessarily braggadocious or anything,
yeah,
but I hope they are inspiring. And I always try to provide a little more insight because everyone talks about like the results of what happened, but not like the actual inputs that went into to get
uh-huh,
those results. Like, yeah, making $20,000 a month is a great goal, but that's not you can't. It's not actionable, right? Like
uh-huh.
you're not just gonna like what are you doing? What are the physical tasks that you're gonna do day in and day out, or a system that you're gonna create to get to that $20,000. It's
Okay.
not you can't just like hit a button. It's like okay, I'm going to increase my sales by X dollars a month. You're going to create more designs, or you're going to
Yeah.
spend more on ads, or whatever that happens to be to get to that point. So focusing more on those systems and processes to get there. That's what I like to talk about, and I want to focus on more. And that was
Yeah.
actually the purpose of me starting my own group versus just posting in others is
Yeah.
I want to talk about some of those, I lift the hood up a little bit, if you will,
Yeah.
to some of those behind the scenes. And not saying like my system is the best. I'm not gonna necessarily, I don't even know if I'm gonna like show exactly what I do, but more of like the thought processes
Yeah.
behind it, since every business is different, right? Like my
Yeah.
system probably wouldn't work for you,
Mhm.
same as yours wouldn't work for mine. And especially when makes a lot of sense for someone in tier 10 to have this complex,
Yeah.
behemoth.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of, topics I want to explore.
Yeah, man. No, for sure. No, and exactly. This leads to my next question. But you said lift the hood up. Are you talking about a car? Or are you talking about like the gangster hood?
Like the
I just
car.
kidding.
Yeah. Lift the hood up of a
I just
car
kidding. I just
to,
kidding.
I didn't know I had to explain that idiom, but
Just kidding. I'm just kidding, man. All right. So leads into the next question. So, what's your favorite thing to do on Merch by Amazon when it comes to like do you like to design? Do you like to do research? Do you like to do the AMS? Uploading? There's a lot of things. Depending on what you're doing, right? That's all everyone's merch
mhm.
account. They're selling, they can be successful with merch a few different ways, I believe. What's your favorite thing to do?
So you're right. You can do one of my favorite things about merch is there's just so many different ways to approach the business in general, whether it's platforms you're selling on or products or niches you're going into. I mean, the world of
Mm-hmm.
print on demand is just massive. For me personally, it's not actually doing the work on the merch by Amazon. I want to my passions in creating those systems and bringing in other people that can perform those
Mm-hmm.
tasks, and
Yeah.
it runs and grows on its own.
Yeah.
Um, as far as like what I enjoy the best, if I'm going to actually like spend the time to do it, probably the advertising is where I spend most of my time now. And then second to that, probably a little bit of research as far as like more broad, giving direction of where we want to go with the
Yeah.
research or how we're going to necessarily research things. But as far as like
Mm-hmm.
the act of like doing all those tasks or like designing or ads is probably about the only thing I manage on my own outside of
Yeah.
that. So other than that, it's all delegating.
Yeah. No, that's Okay, so you like systems in place. Like it's one of my favorite things to do too as well. Kind of like and then that also too, that is another job in itself because you want to touch it. We could touch on that a little bit because it's like since that's your favorite thing to do, it's like just because all right, I got systems in place. All right, guys, peace out. I'm going to Thailand on vacation for the rest of my life. I retire. I'm done.
Well,
It's
that
not
is
like
the
that.
ultimate goal, right? Well, it can be. It's
Yeah.
not
Okay.
necessarily easy. So what I think, like, anytime you're bringing people in, so whenever you're automating, and when I say automating, I'm talking whether it's a program or a script, something like that, or it can be people doing a task too. To the end result, to the owner or the entrepreneur is the same. You're not doing that task; it's getting
Yeah.
completed in a different form. So whether that's human powered or computer powered through
Yeah.
a script and so forth, it doesn't really make a difference as long as that task is getting done.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think systems do is they kind of multiply or magnify your system. If it's a good system, it's going to multiply your output. If it's a
Mm-hmm.
bad system, whether it's bringing people in or an actual automation, if it's a
Mm-hmm.
bad system, it's going to multiply that effect too, and you're going to waste a lot of money. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it's about putting those systems and processes in place, but kind of tweaking them and managing them until they're at a point that they can.
No, so when it comes like exactly what you said, and I think that's very important for people to understand that. It just what have you had any experience where you have like a team, like you have your whole A team, right? You have your person that's doing helping with research, helping with design, or typography, illustrations, whatever the heck you want to call it, graphics, whatever it is, where you get someone else like they're really good, but they're not like performing at the level they should be. You
Oh,
ever got someone
sure.
like that on your
Oh,
team?
yeah. I mean, that happens all the time. I mean, whenever you're hiring tons of people, um, I mean, for my own business, print on demand merch, I've had up to I don't know eight designers at a time, and a lot of them part time. And I mean, I don't know if I have any exact advice, just because it totally depends on the situation, but it does happen. And I mean, part of it is just hiring the people and learning to communicate with them, and being clear with what your expectations are, especially if you're hiring overseas where language barriers might be more apparent. I mean, I think one of the best things someone can do is just, whether you think you need it or not, is just hire a virtual assistant for $4 an hour and learn to assign tasks and communicate with them, because that's a skill in its own. How to hire people, good workers, and then how to manage them. I'm not going to, in the 20 minutes or however long this video ends up being, we're not going to be able to cover, decades of,
Mm-hmm.
practice,
Mm-hmm.
or,
Yeah.
science,
No.
not science. No, it's probably not science. Maybe a little bit. There's probably some psychology or something in there.
Yeah. No. There is like because there's just a ton we can like. I could feel like me and you can talk forever on this because I think that I don't want to be like a little weird or nothing, but I think we have a kind of a connection. All right.
All right. Yeah, I feel you. I feel you. I feel you.
So I think that's important because communication, right? And a lot of people don't like to do that nowadays because it's like it's so easy not to communicate, right? But
It's
communication
hard.
is.
I mean, I've had
Mhm.
it too where I didn't put enough time into a task, and then it goes wild, and they just, they ended up spending 30 hours on something I only wanted to spend 2 hours on because I wasn't clear
Yeah.
in my instructions, right? Like some of those things are going to be those learning lessons you just have to
Mhm.
progress to this point. I'm not saying like this is the only way to run a merch business or print on demand business, because as we just talked about, there's so many different approaches to it. If you
Mhm.
just want to do all the work yourself and treat it more like a hobby or extra vacation money, that's fine. But if
Mhm.
you're looking to actually like scale and grow a business, you have to learn to outsource and delegate. You can't do
Mhm.
everything yourself. You can't be an expert in every situation.
Yeah. It just also too is there was a time when I was like 21 when I wanted to be like that, and then I like within 2 years I kind of learned. Bam! I was like, dude, if I want to grow it to the level I want to grow it at, I can't. I'm not no machine. I'm a monster, but I'm not like no machine, right? And I wish I
Yeah.
could duplicate myself, but I can't.
Oh, yeah. When I was 21, I was a
Yeah.
completely different. Like I'm probably a lot lazier now than I was, but my priorities have also changed. I prioritize time with my family and the hobbies and things I like to do, not
Mhm.
sitting here and designing or writing keywords and uploading to Amazon. That's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
The whole point of that is to get to enjoy everything else I like to do. So it's not to
Yeah.
like just work. And plus my other business ventures too. Merch isn't the only thing I have my hands into.
Mhm.
So at this point, I love merch, but it's still just an income stream at this point that
Mhm.
is going to continue to grow.
One thing that I've noticed is like when do you like when people with like the knowledge that you have, there's always something else to them. And it's always been like that. Like I don't know, just the way it is. Remember I told you like about like the cheese curds, for example.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's a bad example, but I was like, hey, because you said you're from Wisconsin. I was
Yeah.
like, I used to work at A&W and I like cheese curds. People love cheese curds. And I'm like, dude, where did this come from? And then next thing you know, it's like a big thing. I'm like, oh, dang. So it's like there's always a story to it. And you didn't just become successful by, oh, yeah, I'm just going to start running ads to one design and make thousands of dollars. Like it doesn't work that
Yeah.
way.
It's
There's
it's
always a
like was
story. And Mhm.
overnight success, 16 years in the making, right? Like
Yeah.
this is I've had so many failures just to get to this point. I'm still failing and learning, and just that's how you learn, right? Like you
Mhm.
make a successful failure. I'm probably quoting a lot from Tim Ferriss right now just because I'm like in the middle of reading his book, and it's like I haven't read it. I've heard a lot about it for a long time, and just finally getting around to reading it. It's like there's a lot of parallels of things I've felt and thought about and ways I've
Mhm.
designed my business. Because that's the thing with merch is you get to design the business however you want it to fit your lifestyle, whatever lifestyle you want. So if you
Mhm.
don't want to work in the business, don't. You can outsource it. If you want to, you can design it that way. If you don't want to do
Mhm.
customer service, stick to merch. If you love
Mhm.
doing it, go on Etsy, and
Mhm. Yeah.
do all that. It's whatever you want to do.
Mhm. Yeah, man. No, so when it comes to like outsourcing, like what platform do you like to use when
I use
hiring
a few
people?
different ones. I mean, I've used Upwork, Reddit, Fiverr, where I do most of my hiring from. Like honestly, I haven't hired anybody in a while. I have my business manager handling that now. He's from the
Mhm.
Philippines, but most of the people I hire out are out of the Philippines. And
Mhm.
onlinejobs.ph has a pretty good platform. You do have to pay for the privilege. This isn't like a free deal, but that's where I've had a lot of success. But there's other platforms and countries too.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, part of it's just going to be just those are good places to start, but just starting with hiring people and, like I said, learning to communicate. You're going to develop
Mhm.
your own style of hiring and what works for you.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, those are the ones I use.
Yeah. No, I just hired someone recently from the Philippines, man. Just the good people. Got on a call with them right away. Like, what's your like when you get someone to let's say when you're hiring somebody, like what's the steps of you like doing all that stuff? Do you get on video calls? Do you talk to them? Do you
No,
message
no, I try
them?
to
Or
not do all that as little as possible.
Mhm.
I think the best, my number one tip is just to test them on the actual tasks you're going to employ them for. So if you're going to have them doing design work, give them a test of the kind of designs that you actually want to
Mhm.
see, and go from that. I always do paid testing. Treat your employees well too. I think that's super important. That's been, I think, part of my success. My business manager now, I don't know, it's business manager. We're not really into like titles and stuff. So, but
Mhm.
he pretty much runs all the day to day. But I've
Yeah.
worked with him for over 2 years now. He started with as a designer on my merch business. I
Mhm.
brought him along to FanPrint when I went over there. FanPrint kind of absorbed my whole team at the time, actually.
Mhm.
Um, and I continued to develop him to where he was managing dozens of designers and VAs on his own, and now he's um, when I left FanPrint, he left as well to work on my business. So
Mhm.
he's managing a lot of that now. So that's taken a couple years of working with him and development to do that.
Mhm.
So that's one of the other sides too is like treat your employees well, pay them well, um, and you have to learn to trust people. I think that's a big reason why people won't get into outsourcing is like
Mhm.
I can do it better, or I don't trust these people. Even if you can do it better, it's worth it to outsource. And just to give you kind of an example, if you have, depending on how you value your time, and let's
Mhm.
say, you value your time at $25 an hour, for example,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense for me to spend my time, say, designing a t-shirt or writing keywords or whatever that task may be, if I can hire someone to do it for cheaper. If I can hire a
Mhm.
designer for $6 or $8 an hour, and I value my time at $25, it doesn't make
Mhm.
any sense for me to do that. It's kind of like a waste of resources.
Hmm.
where I can hire someone else to do that.
Yeah.
But part of it is you need to trust the people you bring on in your decision to do that. You'll make mistakes and a lot of bad hires, but I think people are capable of more than what I think sometimes we give them credit for.
Hmm.
There are people that can think creatively and so forth. Like you're not the only one that can do this task. You're probably not the
Yeah.
best at it, and especially if
Yeah.
you're not an expert, you should probably be paying someone else to do that. If you're wanting to grow the business, if you want to be a designer and learn to do that, great, more power to you. Spend the time to on the designs. But if you're
Hmm.
looking to grow and scale, that's just not the
Yeah.
most best use of the resources, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, no. So just to give people a little bit of context, my shitty designs, they sell, but I'm not good at it. Right. I suck, but I know that I sucked at it and I outsourced it right at the beginning, man. And I think if you know that you're not good at something and you want to take the time to learn it, yeah, go ahead, learn it. That's cool.
Yeah.
But then
If you
like,
want to be a designer, right? I don't want to be a
yeah,
designer. I have zero interest in being a designer.
yeah.
But I
Mhm.
have, if that's what you want to do, and another reason why Pro on Demand's so great, it can be for designers. I see designers get stuck in that a lot too, though, right? Like the perfection and
Mhm.
especially with, I don't know, what do you call it? Like babying your work almost, or like
Mhm.
you're becoming too attached to your work. And then when it doesn't sell, it's like this big like
Yeah.
devastation, like treating their designs almost like their own children. So
Yeah.
that's something else I see a bit too. And you need to disconnect yourself from that.
Yeah, 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 no, for sure. I agree. Like I see some talented artists. They're really
Hmm.
amazing, and
Yeah.
they don't know like their avatar, like who are they targeting with their design, their
Yeah, they're
illustration.
always.
No, that's interesting because like I said, it just people are really talented artists, and they're just like RJ, like my stuff sucks and it's not selling, and I was like, your stuff don't suck. You just your keywords are not
Well,
there, dude.
sucky stuff sells too, anyways. Like,
Uh-huh.
there's no accounting for bad taste. I've put designs up that are the most ridiculous thing. It's like, and then you
Who's
see it
wearing
pop
this?
up as a sale. It's like, who bought this?
Yeah,
So there's no accounting for bad taste. So there's don't let that stop you from putting up crappy designs. It's probably not the best method. Is just only put it, unless maybe that's like a brand or something you're going for. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, bestsellers too, and you know this, like, right?
yeah,
It's text-based designs. My
yeah,
bestsellers are just text,
yeah,
and they outsell the other ones by, I'm probably 100 to 1. Um, so you don't even have to be a designer if you do. I mean, you can throw text in, open up Photoshop or whatever people are using for
yeah,
their free design.
yeah. So
Um,
you said text based. Is it funny text based designs?
Not all of them. I mean, it just depends.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
in a pretty wide area of niches, I guess,
yeah,
but so it depends. The
yeah,
sarcasm niche and whatnot.
yeah,
There's a lot of angles to that, but
yeah,
I tend to play it pretty safe, evergreen type
yeah.
content.
Interesting.
I'm in it for the long haul. This isn't a get rich quick scheme by any means.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. So like when it comes to your merch account, what's like the top selling product on your account? Like, what do you
Uh,
focus on?
Standard teas for sure.
Okay.
I mean, that's changing a little bit, especially as I move into this year, have more slots. I have tier 120,000. And last year, because I didn't really talk about this, but last year, with the sales I made, that wasn't a growth year. I wasn't investing money into designs. I didn't really touch my account at all last year, other than maintaining the advertising on it. I had only about 9,500 designs throughout all of 2020. Towards the end of the year, so late November, December is when I started bringing the team back on to bring on new designs. So now we're in kind of scaling mode and putting new design. I think we're at about 50,000 designs up now. So we're scaling pretty quickly, but we like to be in, um, we do a lot of like longer tail niches, stuff that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily sell through a lot, but it's, brings in, you got enough of them, brings in some nice bread and butter designs that might sell every, month or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting.
Um, yeah, no
Scaling.
trends and stuff. I'm not. I like stuff that's that's going to keep selling for you, especially
Yeah,
with my strat. My strategy is advertising. It's probably obvious with how much I spent last year.
yeah,
Um, but to rank products long term, you have a trend that um, comes up and it lasts for like 3 days. There's not a great way to optimize that, right? Like you just
mhm,
can't get the data to do that. Where other products that can sell for 4 or 5 plus years and you get an established listing, you can really optimize those, especially through advertising.
yeah,
Um, And when it comes to competitive niches, it can take a while to rank something. You know, some of these high-end search terms or high traffic search terms that have competitors with thousands of reviews, it takes time and money to compete for those search terms. It can be worth it if you end up getting to the top of them. You can sell a ton of t-shirts or whatever it is. But I'm putting up products now. Some of the stuff we're putting up, we're not really expecting to get much of a return on it for a year or 2 years plus by the time you rank it, get reviews, and so forth.
Yeah. No, man, I think that's it's pretty interesting because it just you're like saying like simple sales, right? Like simple stuff, text based stuff sells, and I think a lot of people like they overthink that a little bit, right? As I do like some coaching calls and stuff like that, and or people just reach out to me in my private group and they're like, hey, like this design's not selling. I was like, I think you just need to. How many designs do you have up? You need to get more up, right? And then if you're in the lower tiers, you just got to figure out how to get out of the lower tiers so that way you can have the more opportunity, like you said at the very beginning, is have
Hmm.
more opportunity so you can actually test more. Because then once you start testing more, you're going to see more sales, and you see more sales. You're like, oh, this is why it sold. Okay, so do I just rinse and repeat that, or do I just keep overthinking
Yeah.
my design that I actually put so much time and I actually care about? Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't care about the design. Just go.
Yeah, yeah, and I've put up stuff that you think is going to be a seller, you know, the best seller. It never does. So like, yeah, you can't be attached to it. Like at this point, I'm just gonna say I have no idea what's going to sell for sure. I couldn't look at a design and say this is 100% is going to sell on Amazon, at least
Mhm.
organically. If you're going to throw money behind ads, you can probably make anything sell at least a couple times. But a good design that resonates with the audience that you're selling for. When I say audience, is basically like the search term that they're
Mhm.
typing in, right?
Yeah.
So like what that intent behind it is.
And that's what you mean by long tail, right? By the way.
Well, long tail would be more like, I guess, not as well trafficked, not as much competition.
Mhm.
That's kind of what I mean by long tail. So, for example, some of the long tail might be like if you're putting cities on a shirt, right? Like how many cities are there in the United States? Like 5,000 plus, you know,
Mhm.
nicknames, so forth.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're putting a design on every city in the United States, that'd be pretty long tail.
Mhm.
They'll sell, you know, you got a town of 500 people, it might sell once every 6 months, but
Mhm.
that'd be more of that long tail. So there's still product opportunity. It's just not going to sell as often as maybe something that, you know, cat t-shirt, right? Probably
Mhm.
gets millions of impressions a month.
Mhm.
Where, you know, Timbuktu, United States, middle of nowhere gets like 2 impressions, you know, something
Yeah.
like that.
But they also too they can't find them at the stores or they can't
Well,
find them
right,
anywhere. And like,
right.
yeah.
This is one of my secrets is doing that. We actually, I'm in that space a little bit and have done
Mm.
quite a bit of um,
Unless you go
designs
to your
with
local
that. But
unless you go to your local Walmart, right? Like, oh, I see what
they still
Walmart's
don't. Like,
doing
I don't know. I'm
here.
thinking of like that actually came up like thinking about like my hometown of 40,000 people. It's like they don't have a gift shop like
Yeah.
of, you know, whatever t-shirts, but.
And
But
that's
most people
interesting.
also aren't gonna. It doesn't make sense to do that for most accounts either, right? You know, okay, I'm gonna put a design on, you know, 5,000 T-shirts. I mean, that's a lot of slots to use, especially if you put them on multiple products. That's just one single design.
Yeah.
But if you know, all of a sudden, let's say you have 300,000 slots available, it's
Mhm.
like, you know, maybe this makes a little more sense to go into some of this. So it's kind of a balance of like how long tail you're gonna end
Mhm.
up getting. But there's a lot of opportunity in that too. Is just, you know,
Mhm.
that those micro niches,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah, man. I think it's like I go to gift shops over here in San Diego. So if you guys see a Mexican at a gift shop taking pictures of shirts, you just kind of just I'm just kind of doing some research on my end over here. But you can see
No,
like the
that's
gift
yeah.
shops are like, dude, people are
That's
buying
exactly what
this
I'm
shirt.
talking about.
Yeah.
That's actually a huge market. I mean, we worked with some companies at FanPrint. We had some software that there was some interest in for scaling designs and so forth. But some of these guys, I mean, what was really eye opening with working with some of these massive companies. I'm talking 8 and 9 figure companies that are in the
Mhm.
print on demand space, and a lot of it, granted, is big licenses. We're talking like
Mhm.
Disney,
Yeah.
Star
Yeah.
Wars, you know, stuff that generates millions of dollars off
Mhm.
of a few thousand SKUs.
Yeah.
But they also have non-licensed products, and they're doing, you know, tens of millions of dollars of very similar designs that we're doing as well, print on demand. So I mean, there's all the pie is huge, right? Like
Yeah.
we're talking about, okay, yeah, I made $100,000 whatever last year. That's a very tiny piece of the pie of what some of these bigger players are doing. But there's no
Mhm.
reason that you or me or other people watching can't grow their business to that same scale. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy or anything like that. You're going to do it overnight. And these guys didn't either. Like some of these companies that we worked with have been in business since the 80s. They're old school screen printing guys and so forth. And they're trying to get into more of a digital, that print on demand format.
That transition, right? Because they're like, they know that, like, dude, this is big. This is really big. Like, I don't have to break my back and print 300 shirts, and I don't have to look over 100 or 1,000 people or 2,000 people and making sure they're doing their job right.
Really sped that up, right? Like we basically fast forwarded 10 years in e-commerce, and it's not going back. I mean, it's just going to keep growing. But for a lot of these companies that were traditionally retail or wholesale or retail, like they kind of got heft, with COVID, they went from, doing, 100 million plus a year pre-COVID. And that's like, now they're scrambling to like get their products digitized and put on the same platforms we're already selling on.
Yeah, man. Damn. Yeah, we can.
So maybe we're ahead of the game, right? Like it's still pretty young and print on demand, just in the directions it can go as an industry. So it'll be pretty interesting to see. Like I'm happy to be a part of it. It's like my favorite industry.
I also too, I think it just is going to be, I think we're going to be ahead of the game for many, many years. Because we already started, right? And you kind of start around the same time. I think it's big like that. And I think as we keep learning, we're going to know more, learn more, and then just keep evolving, right, over time. That's just another thing too. Like I see people like, some people would like my cousin, like his taco business, like he ended up like something happened, right? Where all the COVID happened and all hit. And I'm just like, dude, just calm down, dude. It's like you're really successful with this. You understand that, right? It's not like you're not going to learn something else. Calm down. Just stay. Hey, chill out for a month, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. He's like, no, but it's like, I'm not like that. I was like, you are like that. You just don't know it. It's going to calm down, buddy. Something's going to, something's going to up and come. And then that's the next thing. And then, it all calmed down a little bit. And then he started back in business. I was like, see, I told you. Yeah. Something's going to happen. So, dude.
Yeah, and pod's not going anywhere, right? Like this, if anything, it's kind of crazy to think of like where it could even go. Like you think of, 3D printing, for example, like that's pretty, it kind of in its infancy as well. And that's like, when I think of it, like, that's kind of print on demand as well. Yeah. So in 10 years, what are we going to be like printing our design? It might not just be designs, like we're actually, designing physical products to have printed off down the road. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. It's definitely a lot broader than just t-shirts. I know Amazon's investing pretty heavily on different machinery. And you see the other print on demand companies doing different products as well, which I haven't done for my own business, but it's definitely something I'm looking at doing.
Interesting, man. I think also too, this is crazy. Like like KDP, like Kindle Direct Publishing, right? That's like, I see it as, at first I didn't see it like print on demand. Like, well, you're not doing any inventory. You're not taking care of any customer service.
Yeah, same thing.
I was like print on demand. But
it hasn't been a space. Like KDP, I have an account. I put one book up and it was a lot of work. So I haven't invested the time, but it's on the radar. That's for sure. So this is something that people need to do as well. It's kind of evaluate where is best to spend your time, because it's not all equal, right? Like, if you can get on merch, that's probably where I'd say start, just because the value, the organic traffic available. But comparing to that to say like a Teespring or something, it's just not. You shouldn't be putting the same amount of effort into each of those. So you almost need to prioritize where you're putting in time and what platforms. KDP hasn't quite hit the level for us, just because it'd be a lot of the way we have our systems and processes in place. It'd be a whole new change that we'd have to introduce. So it's interesting. I think KDP's has a lot of potential, and there's probably some people making a lot of money. That's the other thing. Like you see these other platforms, there's probably enough in merch now, but you don't see a lot of people putting numbers up for most platforms, right? Like everyone talks about KDP is like, well, I don't know, put up or shut up, right? Like, I don't see a lot of that. Maybe I'm not following the right people though. That's
I see some people posting there. There's frequently just posting there, like last Q4. I see someone post some numbers up for December.
I hate this camera.
They posted 100K in royalties, and they spent like 20,000 for the month, right? And I'm just
120,000 royalties a month. Sorry, distracted.
100K royalties, and then they spend like about $20,000 in AMS.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think there's definitely, just doing some research and just seeing what some of the BSRs are and what some of the products they're putting out. Of course, I don't know. Like, it's hard. Every category is a little different BSR, so I'm not intimately familiar with like this BSRs that they're selling. This make coloring books, but
yeah,
yeah, I definitely see the potential. It's somewhere where it's on the horizon at some point. I mean, the more you can diversify, I mean, that's kind of like the ultimate goal for me in 2021 is just diversification. I have all these assets, tens of thousands of assets at this point. Where else can you make money off of them?
Yeah, no, man, for sure. I think KDP's like a freaking huge opportunity. It's like I average between it's like $1,000 to $1,500 a month, and I spend anywhere. But it depends. It could be $200 to $600 a month on AMS. But I feel like if I gotta see where my time is, right? Like in Q4 in December, it did like 3,000, almost 3,000. I'm just like, okay, but every single book that I have up sold. Not the low content ones though. The low content ones where I scaled out.
Like, the low content, I could throw like designs on it. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to approach. So like when I'm thinking about getting into it, I'm starting to think about like, okay, how do we automate this? How do we turn some things into like templates and so forth that we, especially like design wise, we haven't spent too much time really messing around with, but it's, it's kind of in the back of the mind, like, a lot of things are, but for us, Seller Central, that's kind of our next big goal, especially just to open up to new product types not available on Merch. My expertise is in Amazon more than any other platform. So Seller Central, it's, same algorithm, like you're going to, same strategies to sell. There are some, little differences, of course, with, FBA and FBM versus Merch.
I think also too, just selling on Amazon, right? Kind of like it brings us all together in a way, right? We understand, like learning the algorithm is like one of the funnest things for me, like to do, like testing. As far as like when I say learning, I like testing, right? Testing. Like it works. Test. Oh, this is working. Test. Oh shit, that didn't work. Test. You know what I mean? That's all it is, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Especially if you're into the PPC side of things. Like it really comes down to just testing. And I was into Amazon ads as soon as it became available to me, but I kind of come from a background of PPC management too, like Facebook ads and so forth. And coming from that, Amazon, Amazon was easy in comparison to just how complicated and how much more mature the Facebook platform is, or like Google ads, for example, as well, than what you can do on Amazon ads. But you actually have control over your product, and it's almost like the destiny of that product is you can actually put money behind it and skip to the front page. You can control that. Of course, then you have the organic traffic as well. That's kind of like the bread and butter, the holy grail of selling on Amazon is getting to that point where you're getting that organic traffic. But that's what versus a shop, you're going to create your own Shopify store. You need to drive your own traffic to it. So that's a whole different can of worms and different strategies at play.
Yeah, no, for sure it is. So like when it comes to like, let's say like you say you're doing a lot of text-based designs and stuff like that, like, and of course it just doesn't really matter, but like when it comes to copycats, when people are copying your designs and stuff like that, what do you think about that?
What do I think? There's not much I'm going to do about it. Like, I'm not going to spend the time unless there's some automated solution that can do that, take down other people. I'm not going to worry about it. Especially when it comes on Amazon, it just doesn't really matter for any of my successful designs. They're probably not. If they're copying designs that haven't sold yet, more power to you, I guess. You'll burn yourself out. If they're copying some of my best sellers, it doesn't even matter because I have ad spend behind them. That they're just not going to be able to outrank mine. If you have two products, let's say they're equal in Amazon's eyes, which probably isn't going to be the case. But let's just say they're selling exactly the same. They have the same conversion rates, all that. Amazon's going to give them both the same impression share, so the same number of impressions for the search terms they apply to, and the one has ads, even if it's minimal, it's getting a couple extra sales a month. That's incremental sales the other one doesn't have. Amazon's going to weight that one higher because at the end of the day, it's just how many sales does it have. Amazon doesn't care whether it's an organic sale or it's a paid sale. That still counts towards in the algorithm's eyes. How well that product sells, because that's all Amazon cares about is how well does this product sell. They just want to make money. They don't care about anything else. They don't care about you or me as a seller, the product. They just care whether it's going to sell or not, and that it does give the customer a good experience, right? Like they're very customer oriented, which is great. But yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where I was going with that either.
No, you're good. So do you think and this is leading me into like we'll talk about AMS and stuff like that, but do you think that spending money on ads for your best design is pushing out the copycats?
100%. I mean, if there's same design, whether they copy your design or whatever else it is, if you're taking an ad spot, you're taking real estate on the page that someone else doesn't have. So if you have more real estate on the page, especially if that's the top of the page, you're going to get more clicks and more sales. That's just how it is. The top design, most people click on the top listing. Doesn't matter whether it's a sponsored ad or not. Most people are going to click on that top ad and then second one, third, so forth. But it's not linear. It's a exponential curve. So you're going to have 1,000 people clicking on the first spot and maybe only 100 people clicking on the second, 10 people on the third, and kind of on down from there. So if you can take that top spot, like we're talking about a massive difference in traffic, not just a little bit. And then if you have a competing if you're blowing away the competition, you're getting that top spot all the time, you're just gonna it's gonna be hard for them to catch up, basically, unless they dump a lot in ad spend.
Okay. All right. No. Are you using any, like, for as far as like tools and stuff like that? What type are you using any tools for research or anything like that?
Yeah, we use a couple different ones. I mean, Helium 10, we have Merchant Former. I get some brand analytics reports from a buddy of mine right now because I lost access to that, which for anybody that's not familiar, if you have a brand registered on Amazon through Seller Central, you get access to their brand analytics tool, which gives you the top, I don't know how many there's like 1.5 million keywords that they rank from 1 to 1.5 million or whatever it is these days for actual search terms, what customers are typing in. So if you're brand registered, definitely check that out. I think it's one of the more powerful research tools there is.
Interesting. All right. Your ad spend for 2020, how much you say you spent?
About 80,000.
Okay, 80,000. Okay, cool. All right. So when it comes to running, I mean, when you upload a new product, say you upload a new t-shirt, right? Do you run ads to that product right off the back?
Most often not. So I like to have some validation behind a design, especially at the place I'm at now. I have enough designs and slots up there that they're starting to sell organically. I like to see them at least selling organically a couple times before I'll put ads towards them. And I don't necessarily like track this all the time. There's some tools out there you could do to get, by ASIN level, get your exact sales to keep track. Oh, this is sold, 2 times lifetime. I'm going to start an ad. I don't really do that. I see if I see something start coming up, I'll put some ads on it because it's sold multiple times. If it has a review, I'm going to 3 stars or higher, I'm going to throw an ad at it. That's the biggest indicator for me is what I want is reviews. That's what's going to get your product selling. You're not going to really get much sales velocity unless you have, I'd say at least like 5 to 10 reviews and it's rated 4 stars or higher. You're just not going to really get that sales velocity without it. So no, I don't really start too many not selling ones. I know some people are successful with that. You probably will bleed quite a bit of ad spend doing that unless you're pretty good with your negative keywords and so forth. If I am like pushing towards a trend or like there's a trend, I'm they're gonna have a short window. I'll throw some ads. Like there was a trend a few days ago that I was trying to hit and didn't really go anywhere, but just threw some ads in one ad group and just to see what happens with those as far as an auto ad. But that's about the extent I would go.
Interesting. Yeah, man. That's
now this is merch specific. So if you only have a few products, like you could spend a ton of money developing some product, completely different approach to launching, right? Like if you have if my investment in one design is pretty minimal, if we look at on a dollar cost basis, one design, I don't even know what it is, probably 30 cents or something. I have no idea. If you invested thousands of dollars in a product, that's going to make your launch rate much different. You'd want to be much more aggressive with your advertising because you invested all that money, right? Like, don't waste that. Put some ads to it, and you want to get those reviews as fast as possible. Yeah, I remember. Doesn't make sense. Like, I got 50,000 designs at this point. I'm not gonna. Yeah. I'd be broke if I tried to put advertising towards each of them. So I let the organic market kind of validate those, and we, build that funnel of which ones I advertise.
Yeah, man. I remember like when you know how. So you've been doing it as long as me.
About 3 years,
It
yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to like, don't you hate when they were updating like the algorithm and losing your ranking and all that stuff? That
I
would.
didn't run into that too much. I feel like
Mm,
that was before, or at least like I didn't have any super mature
that's
products at that point where it
yeah.
really affected me. I think
I,
that was about 2.5 years
it was
ago.
back to back. The first year and the second year it pissed me off, man. I was like, all right, I'm done.
I mean, that's a
Forget
big deal.
merch.
That is a big deal, especially if it takes a long time to rank a product. I mean, there's
Yeah.
products that, like my bestsellers now, I've spent 2 years ranking them. I mean,
Hmm.
investing heavily in ads, especially when merch shut down last year,
Hmm.
April, when it opened back up, that was a massive opportunity. I mean, that was
Hmm.
almost a BSR reset
Hmm.
there,
Hmm.
unless you're FBM and fulfilling them yourself. Everybody's listings just tanked. Coming out of that, if you're investing in ads, you could really rank your products, especially if your
So
competition wasn't.
So you're kind of thinking, okay, because I was thinking about this too. So what were you thinking when the opportunity for that right there with ads? What opened when it opened back up? What were you thinking? Like what were you thinking? Like,
Let's go. That's what I was thinking.
okay.
Like, let's go. I never paused my ads. I just let them go because they're not going to run spend to listings that aren't selling. So you don't have to worry about like, I'm spending money on clicks that Amazon's sending to a product that doesn't exist. So I let those go,
Yeah,
and I was really aggressive. I upped my bids, um, and I didn't make much money in May. I don't think I made
yeah,
much till like the last couple days,
yeah.
and I had a product that just took off or started ranking at some of the top of some really big search terms. And it gets a boost every
Mhm.
June, but
Yeah,
it paid off.
yeah. Yeah, no,
So
same here, man. I was like, my opportunity. The thing was, I was thinking, it's like everyone paused their ads. I'm just gonna lower the bids and keep them going. And then when it opens back up, it's game time. We're gonna start increasing because I know the sales are gonna come in like that
yeah,
because you're keeping the bids up there, even though you're not losing money, you're just holding your place.
yeah, and depending on the competition of a search term, like sometimes you have to do that. You have to spend money on ads just to hold your ranking in place. As soon as you start, lowering spend or you try to make it profitable or whatever, it's enough that someone else takes your spot, and there goes all that organic traffic. Or you start. Was I actually just had this happen? As this bestseller I was talking about, I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention to the ads, but the impressions dipped down quite a bit. I didn't
Mhm,
look at it until I noticed in my merch account. I was like, man, sales are kind of like low this
mhm,
week, and it turned out like it wasn't getting impressions. I had to like the bids were too low, and I did that, and I ended up having like the best day of the year yesterday. Once I was able to like kind of get that back on track. So
mhm,
that's ads are definitely an active, like you need to manage it because I mean, bids are constantly changing for the search
mhm,
terms that you're targeting. It's not like it's like a moving target, so you need to stay
mhm.
on top of it. You can't
So
just let it. It's
basically,
not set it and forget it by any means.
yeah, it will. You think you just got more competition in that niche, and they're probably maybe outbidding you, or someone was testing something and they were outbidding you. So
I think
what'd you
my
do?
bids
Did
were
you go
just
in
too
and
low. And
yeah,
part of it, because what I like to do, like especially coming out of the holidays, like anytime there's a lot of volatility with advertising. So coming out of the holidays is a big one, right? Like where everything stops
mhm,
shipping or showing by Christmas,
yeah,
and you see that cliff in your
yeah,
sales. Your advertising spend could still be way up.
yeah, it is, yeah,
So I kind of look at it as a reset. Lowering all my bids, like almost starting over
mhm,
to real. You could lower them to 5 cents or 10 cents, whatever it is, and you kind of like wait out that little bit of lull, and then you start increasing your bids to get back where it was. And I think I was too low on some of the bids on um, that I
mhm,
was at. I wasn't increasing them fast enough. But
mhm,
that's what I mean. It's easy. I say these things like I'm not perfect. I don't do like every little thing, best practice that I talk about.
mhm,
I try to do the best I can, but there's times like, oh shoot, I haven't like optimized my ads in a while,
mhm,
that sort of thing,
yeah,
and probably waste more money than I should, or
mhm.
whatever it is.
But I think also too, just to add to that, it's like it's better to make I'd rather you have more data, so that way you can make a better decision, right? At
Yeah,
the
it's
end of the
it's
day.
100% about the data. That's actually probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people that are new to paid advertising make is they make decisions without the data to back it up. So they
Uh-huh.
spent $5 on this automatic campaign, for example. It's like, oh, that's more than I make off one t-shirt. I'm going to turn this off. Well, those clicks that, let's say it was 20 clicks that made up for that was spread across 4 different match types, which was spread across probably 15 different search terms. Like, how much data do you really have? Like, you have, 1 click here on this search term, 2 clicks over here. It's like, how do you even make a decision? 2 people clicked on this ad from this search term. Is like, with confidence, can you say, nope, this search term, or I'm turning off this campaign, it's not successful? Most people don't collect enough data, and they make premature decisions on that.
Interesting. No, I think that's important too, because 2 clicks is not enough. What's enough?
No.
Okay, we can keep on going on this. Like, what is enough for you? Like, what's your
So I
what's your
think
strategy?
one of the biggest things is stop making decisions based on like the campaign or ad group level. So a lot of people just like get in their ad console, they look at the campaign, it's got 25 clicks or whatever, and they turn it off. Let's say we'll just use auto campaigns for an example, but it still applies to manual. That's that situation I was talking about. Like, those 25 clicks are spread way out across all kinds of different search terms. You should for auto ads, at the very least, you should be making those decisions based on the match type, because that's kind of the lowest level you can go. So with automatic ads, you got close match, loose match, complement, substitutes. You would look at the clicks that each of those have, not as an aggregate or as the campaign as a whole. So when your close match hits, say 25, 30 clicks, then you would turn that off, but not the other ones. You're not going to turn off the whole campaign just because one of them isn't doing well. So I'm actually working on some content for that, as far as like when to turn off campaigns or ads. But the biggest thing is like evaluating things at the target level. So that's going to be the match types for auto ads, or for manual, it's going to be the keywords that you use. So the broad phrase or exact match. And
that's
really, ideally, so here's some like preview of that. It should be based on your conversion rates. So how things are converting. Now, if you have a new campaign, you don't really have that data, but you can use data from the rest of your account. So looking at your conversion rates, and I would probably try to look at this based on match type, right? Like, an exact match term should have a higher conversion rate than a broad match type conversion rate. So just as an example, if you have a 5% conversion rate, I think I'm around that just account wide across every campaign lifetime, which makes sense for being in apparel. I'd say 10% is probably more average for other categories. But if you have 5% conversion rate, the average number of clicks to get 1 sale is 20 clicks. If you're turning it right off at 20 clicks, that'd be kind of like the bare minimum amount of data that I'd want to have. But again, if that's a broad keyword, or like your automatic campaigns where that's spread across multiple search terms, maybe give it a little more. I'd say ideally like 150 to 200% of what your average clicks are per sale. So again, that's based on your conversion rate. That's kind of like a lot to maybe even like visualize, or if maybe your 10% conversion rate is kind of your goal. 10 clicks on average to get a sale is kind of what you're basing that on. And I'd like to see at least like 150 to 200% of that. So let's say 20 clicks. So I might do that for like an exact. There's not like any like hard and fast rules. Like, part of it's just like, do this, like run ads, kind of get a feel for it, what's working or not. But the more data you have, which is orders, first of all, if you have enough orders, use your order data, right? Like, because that gives you your ACoS, which is probably your most important. Without that, if you only have 0 orders or 1 order, you don't have that data to make a decision off of. Clicks is your next best kind of metric for that.
I think that's interesting, because like you'll get 10 clicks sometimes, you're like, dude, this is not enough data to make me turn this off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it also sucks.
Spend $2. You spend $2 to get 30 or 10 clicks. And you're like, nah, I need at least like I need to double this. So I need 20
right. Yeah, I want at least 20 clicks. I've started pushing that more for the broader. I kind of used to set that as like 20 clicks and turn it off. I'm letting that expand a little bit to even up to 30 or 40 clicks for some of my more broad match stuff. So like the auto campaigns or what have you.
So if they don't buy at 20 clicks, do you think it's either your design sucks, or it's just not the right time of the design, or it's not in the moment? Because then you'll have some designs later on your account. I know you know this. All of a sudden start making sales. I'm like, dude, what the? Where were you at when I wanted you to make sales, or you know what I mean? It will sell like.
It could be the search term, the competition. Like there's a lot of factors that go into it. It doesn't necessarily mean the design sucks. It just might not be the right design for the search terms that Amazon thinks it should work for. And that's the other thing with like keyword research. Like Amazon only has your description to base its targeting off of for the algorithm. It's not looking at your design. It's just going based on your keywords. If you have a lot of irrelevant keywords in your description, Amazon's going to use that and target those, and you're either not going to get clicks, which at least you're not paying for them, or you're going to get clicks from people that really don't have any intent on buying your products anyways because they don't fit what they were searching for. So you bleed a lot of ad spend that way by not having tight focused keywords.
Okay. Yeah, man. So like when it comes to launching a new ad, like how many ads do you launch at once? So you got your 3 reviews.
Yeah,
three
yeah.
reviews.
Once
You
I
got
get, if it gets one review, I'm throwing an ad on for sure. If I like click on something, I was like, oh, I haven't seen this. I was like, where'd this review come from? It's like that's the first thing I'm doing is opening up ad console and starting an ad. So I don't know that like I don't do like a bunch all at once. It kind of depends on like when I see something selling, like it's selling, it's like, hey, let's see if there's an ad already for it. If it doesn't, I'll launch it. And if I see it has a review, same process. If it's got an ad or it doesn't, if it doesn't have one, I'm going to launch one. So, but it's kind of, it's a little bit based at times too on budget. Like sometimes I don't want to increase my ad spend or, exposure to ad spend, I guess. If you're, I got, let's say 100 designs that meet this criteria, 2 or more sales and it has at least a review. Let's just as an example, I'm not going to probably launch campaigns for all 100 of those products at the same time. I'll probably stagger that and test it all at once because when you first launch a campaign, your variance is going to be the highest on wasted spend or I guess like spend efficiency.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So like, so you're doing the manual.
Okay. As far as like, so what I recommend for anyone starting, you want like the deets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I was like, what are you
taking
doing?
notes. This even going live. This is just for RJ. I recommend auto ads for everybody. Like they work great. Like I don't know where it came from. It's like this idea that manual is the only way to go. It's like, or maybe it's like people feel like that's like the expert level. Auto ads work great. Like Amazon's pretty smart. Like they know their customers better than we do. Whether they're have a higher intent to buy or not. Like I kind of let Amazon just do its thing. Auto ads work fantastic for that. That being said, so I start with an auto ad every single time. As far as like the settings on that, $2 or $3 I'll usually start with as a campaign. Budgets, like I don't believe in ad budgets, just as like a philosophy, I guess. It doesn't, if it's making you money, you put more money into it. If it's not making you money, you reduce it or remove it. That's it. So if something's working, I'm gonna put as much money into it as possible. I don't have like a budget. So if something works, I'm gonna increase that daily campaign budget. But $2 to $3 is usually what I'll start at because it doesn't really matter like how fast you spend money. It's more about how much data you collect. So if you can do that in 2 days versus 10 days with a higher bid, a higher budget, I prefer that. You can be more conservative and start with $1. I think that's the minimum with lower bids. So it kind of depends on how aggressive you want to be because at the end of the day, you still need to get to those 20, 30 clicks before you can make that decision. If you have a higher bid, you're going to get to that decision faster. So there's kind of a balance there, but $3 budget. I used to do down only for the bid strategy. I've recently started testing up down for auto campaigns specifically. I'm seeing kind of out in the ad world that though campaigns with up and down are hitting target ACoS better than the down. I don't have the data to say one way or another. I'm not going to pretend I do, but I'm testing them right now. They seem to be going fine, but I just don't have enough data to know for sure. And then as far as bids, I'll usually do suggested bid plus a couple cents. So if it's not like outrageous, or I'll set my cap at like 55 cents. So it's like if the suggested bid is above that, I'll just like do 55 cents. Depending on the niche, like sometimes I'll even start at like 35 cents. So like somewhere in there, it depends like kind of how I'm feeling a little bit. Like it's not like do this and hard rules that you have to follow.
Yeah.
Because you can always adjust that. You should be adjusting this over time. Like anything you put in here as far as your bids, you're going to be optimizing those over time based on whether you're getting impressions, clicks, orders, that sort of thing.
Dude, I noticed too that it's just so much time consuming, like going back in there to look at the bids and stuff. I'm like, dude, come on. There has to be something easier like where I can just look at a dashboard and just like, okay, cool. Like this needs to be like, this is converting really well. The ACOS is at 15%, but we can turn up. I want 22%, 23%, turn up the bid a little bit, increase
Yeah.
the daily budget. What are you like, what are your strategies when it comes to like, let's say you have 300 ads and you have to go in and change the bids on all of them. And it kind of takes away from, because like, think about it this way. You have all these ads to do, and then you have so much tasks to do in each one of those ads.
Yeah.
How the heck?
For optimal optimization, I guess.
Yes, because you're leaving money at the table if you don't increase your bids, and it's converting really well. And I noticed that last year. That's what I did, and was one of the biggest mistakes. And I was pissed off on myself because I was like, dude,
yeah, you have some converting at like a 5% ACOS. Like, why wouldn't you be putting more money into it? So target ACOS is like the most important metric of all of advertising, which I've written about it in my group and other places. But your first thing you need to be setting an ACOS of what you're actually trying to hit. That's like your benchmark. Without that, there's nothing to measure your actual ACOS against. You're just kind of like winging it. At a higher level, your ACOS is really just your goal for your product. So like, are you going to be, are you trying to rank it? Are you trying to just maintain rank? Are you trying to just be profitable? That's going to dictate kind of what your ACOS is. If you're ranking it, something that's going to be more aggressive, maybe, break even or sometimes even higher. I'm not afraid to lose money on a product necessarily. But you're right. It is really time consuming to manage them. You're kind of balancing ease of management versus effectiveness. So there's a lot of different ways you can structure your campaigns. You could just have one campaign, dump all your ASINs into one campaign and be done with it, right? Like have 500 products in one campaign. It's not going to be super effective though, or ideal. So that's where the campaign structure comes into play. And depending on how much time you want to invest in managing it, some structures are easier than others. Personally, what I use is a 3 campaign structure for most products, where I'll have an auto campaign, a manual campaign for testing, and then a performance manual campaign where my kind of winners go to, typically exact match in there. So that's kind of, and it's almost like a funnel. So the auto campaign is for finding search terms, or kind of that like casting a wide net to see what's working. Once they sell, I'm going to throw those into the manual campaign. And if they keep selling as a broad and an exact match, because I want to, see if it continues to perform. And then abroad, I want to see like, okay, what other search terms maybe that we're missing. And then they continue to sell, I'll move the exact match over to my performance campaign. That active movement is extremely time consuming. There's some tools out there that can do that sort of thing. In my experience, I haven't found anyone that's either works with merch or it just costs. So like some of the costs on these, they want to 8-10% of your ad spend, which on the margins of merch just aren't realistic. So I mean, we're actually developing our own tool to do a lot of these processes, because it doesn't exist as far as something that was built for merch. So we're actually developing that, which I don't know, it's kind of an open secret, I guess, but we have a beta of our software that's available, which you're part of, so you've seen that as well. But for people that aren't part of that, as far as moving keywords around and structuring your campaigns properly, it's a very manual process. There's nothing around it other than just going in and doing it and spending time to do that. And that's kind of where this, like, how much time do you want to invest or not? I've had situations or time periods where I didn't do anything with it, and it's the ads were okay. It's just it wasn't optimal. When it comes to bids, that you can actually do through Amazon's own tools in bulk, through their bulk operations spreadsheets. So that's what I used prior to development of our own software for it. So you can still do that now. I think you might need to like request access. I can't remember. I did it a couple years ago, but you can request access. Comes in a giant Excel spreadsheet. You download as a report. You can make changes in bulk. There's
bulk
some pains
operations
to that too. Yeah. So that's probably what I look at too. Otherwise, I don't know. Our app once we launch here soon.
I did not set that up for you to. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, look at that like layup.
This guy, yeah.
Yes, we're not quite ready yet. So we're testing, getting all the bugs out. So it's kind of that's why I say like open secret. We're not really like looking for like tons of people yet, because we just want to make sure we can give everybody a good experience. But that's exactly like the frustrations I had with running my own ads led me to develop this software. And it's not just me; it's my co-founder is doing a lot of the legwork there too with the development side. So.
Dude, that's like another like doing the like one day. It would take one day for you to do all the ad optimization and all that stuff.
It'd be a full-time job. I tend to focus on just because at this point we haven't kind of launched our automation for the keywords. I do it manually just like everyone else at this point, and it would be a full-time job practically to do it when you have 500 campaigns. I think I have like 300 active right now. To do it properly, it would just take forever. So I tend to focus on just my top. I'll sort my ad console by spend, so I can see where I should be focusing my time on optimization. And the other side too is like, it's not just moving those keywords around, but also the keyword negation as well. So you're not wasting spend on search terms that don't matter. Like you'll get branded terms that show up like Adidas or wrong product type, that sort of thing. Hoodie, people searching for hoodies and your t-shirt showing up. You don't want to waste the spend on that generally. So maintaining your negative search term lists as well, which to Amazon's credit, I don't think their platform's like super powerful, especially when you look at like a Facebook ads platform or something that has a lot of these features, automation features and rules and scheduling built in. Amazon has been improving their ad console. I mean, when we first started merch, auto ads, you didn't have any like more granular targeting. It was just auto ads, and that was it. Like Amazon's going to do its own thing. Then they broke it up to having close, loose complements, so you can kind of adjust your bids separately from each other. And they've done things with like introducing search terms in the ad console, like right in there, so you can see your search terms. Where before you had to download another Excel report and go through that. So they are making it a little bit easier to use, but it's the automation side of things is definitely missing, especially for anybody that's at merch scale, which tends to be on a couple orders of magnitude over higher than most sellers for SKU count. So it does introduce some difficulties for sure.
Yeah, man. No, that's thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, so when it comes to ranking, because we have a few more questions and we're already at an hour 18. So how do you rank a product? Because we can keep talking about this all day, and I enjoy this type. When it comes to AMS stuff, I enjoy it. So how do you get a product to rank on the front page?
Well, just doing ads in general with high enough bid, like that's your shortcut, right? Like you get an instant shortcut to rank one, as long as you have a high enough bid, or you placement adjustments you can increase to do that. Otherwise, it's a long-term strategy. It's taking a product. How do you rank a product? So it needs sales, right? Like people, and it needs reviews. A product without reviews is just pretty unlikely. Like most people don't buy products without reviews, and even some, number of reviews. I think 5 at least is kind of what you would really need to rank for most search terms. But again, it depends on the search term. If you're in a high competition where you're competing against, products that have thousands of reviews, it's going to take a longer amount of time to kind of get up to that review count. You almost need like parity with those before you can like really rank, at least for those top terms, or for those top spots, which is where most of that organic traffic comes in. Doesn't mean you can't make money kind of on the way up too, right? Like there's still a lot of traffic and so forth going, especially in the apparel space. Maybe there's a little bit more distribution across the products, and that concentrate in that top 1 or 2. But it's running ads to get incremental sales over the competition, get reviews. That's pretty much it. I don't know, what else can you do, right? Like you wait for the sales, you pump ads to it. The more you spend on them, the more sales you're going to get, which means the more reviews you're going to get, which should get you more organic traffic. It's really a snowball effect. That's kind of, I'm sure you've heard about this, and the audience may have heard it or not, but sales velocity is gaining that sales velocity. Amazon only really cares about what you've done for them lately, not like what your sales history was a year ago, but is your product selling right now? And that's why
Mhm.
April or May really went after April, the shutdown was such a big opportunity because you could get those sales that your competition wasn't, or even if it was just a couple more sales than they were getting, Amazon's going to rank you higher. And then that snowball effect keeps going.
You're hoping that all your competition that you're competing with in your niche turn off their ads,
Oh,
and then you just keep
100%.
yours
Yeah.
running and then
Yeah.
just
Turn
keep
off
it going.
ads. It's a terrible idea. Don't, if you're in my niches, it's a waste of money.
Yeah, no.
We're
So
just going to
okay,
bid against each other.
next question. What is a successful ad to you?
It's a, I'd say it's successful as just the one that's hitting its target ACOS. It depends on what the goal for the ad is because there's different strategies. The goal for my auto campaigns isn't necessarily to be like super profitable, where my exact match campaigns, I might want to pull a little more profit out of them. Depends on the product type. So I'd say if you're hitting your target ACOS, you're doing what you're supposed to be, or that campaign is accomplishing its goal, which is, target ACOS is just based on what your goal is anyways.
Yeah. Okay. What's your goal for 2021?
I feel like I've touched on this a few different times. Again, not to work more on my merch business. I want that to, not that I don't like ignore it, but it's not. I don't want to spend all day. I now have the free time. I've actually had a lot of time to myself and family. So if it's anything, my goal is to get to spend as much time with my family as I got to last year.
Oh,
But I got some other stuff, like personal stuff, like trying to eat better, getting, take care
too.
of myself a little bit more.
Me
I was
too.
the only one that had like the quarantine, like
Got the
20,
tacos, right? Got the
20.
taco and like 2 burritos right here, man. So I'm trying to get rid of that. So nah, man, thank you for sharing with that, man. Because I think that's a big thing because some people like to get inspired by that stuff. Maybe someone's going through something in life and you sharing that with them will kind of change their life for the better, man. So that's what my idea behind that when I asked you
I'm
something
not
like
perfect
that.
by any means. 2020 had its challenge. It was one of the best years of my life, but it still had its challenges for sure. I definitely, maybe like taking care of myself personally. I'll let that slide a little bit in 2020, and that's a huge goal for me and my
Yeah.
wife this year. Is just kind of like take better care of ourselves.
Yeah.
COVID kind of messed a lot of people up in routines and so forth. So we're all kind of, I don't know,
So no more
figuring
cheese
it
curds?
out. Not right now. I'm doing a low carb thing, so
Just kidding.
not right
I'm
now. I
just
can do
kidding,
well.
man.
We can do the squeaky cheese curds. There's two different kinds of cheese
Oh,
curds.
yeah.
You got the fried ones, which are most people are familiar with, and you got the
Uh,
squeaky ones, which you gotta go to like the farmer's market for. You get them fresh, then they squeak. But those
oh,
aren't fried, so I could do those.
yeah. Okay. Okay. You already
Yeah,
got that
yeah. We got
answer.
cheese. We got like our fridge. We have a whole drawer dedicated to cheese. Like it's not a
Interesting.
stereotype. It's like a real thing.
Okay. Yeah, man. That's crazy, man. So like let's say someone just started with merch by Amazon. They got
hmm
approved yesterday. Or they're just stuck, right? And they've been have their account for a year and they don't know what to do. What would you recommend them to get to the level that they want to be at? Like anything, it could be anything. And this is more of a general question because I kind of want your flip on it and what you think.
Yeah, that's like, well, I'd say it depends on what their goals are. First of all, it's you're gonna have different routes that you go to. If you want to just treat this as a hobby, I mean, do whatever you want, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you want to like treat it as a business and scale it up, I'd say stop trying to be an expert in everything and outsource.
Hmm.
That's probably your quickest path to. It is the quickest path to growing because you're multiplying your your production
Yeah.
just through the means of bringing, multiplying the hours that are being put into the business, whether they're
Yep.
your hours or not. So that's probably
Yeah.
what I would recommend. Yeah, stop trying to do everything yourself, especially if you're not good at it or you hate doing it. That's another one.
Yeah.
If you hate doing something, outsource it. Like
Yeah.
don't beat yourself up over it.
Okay. Yeah, man. I agree. It's cool too to outsource and it's fun.
Yeah,
Um,
not having to work like that's knowing that my business is growing, whether I'm, doing something or not, that's the best feeling there is.
Waking up, when that stuff's done, it's cool.
Yeah,
I
and
remember that
the
feeling.
other,
That
and we
feeling.
didn't
Or
touch
I
about
remember
this,
that. I
but
know that feeling. Sorry.
but where was I going? I had something. Yeah, I
Said
don't know,
waking
because
up.
like merch is already passive, right? Like
Mhm.
you could just, whatever you do, you can just let it go. I mean, obviously everything's got like a life cycle to it, like a product life cycle. So everything we put up now eventually is going to stop selling, some faster than others. Um, but it's super passive. The only money and the investment in it is really for growth, right?
Mhm.
Like where a lot of other businesses that you start, there's like fixed costs just to stay in business. The only thing we're really spending money on is to grow our business. Like I could just stop right now and let everybody go and just let the merch account just, keep kind of do what it did last year. Or I can reinvest those profits and put it into a team and actually growing it. But the money I'm putting in it's 100% for growth. It's not like I'm just doing this for a maintenance or something like that. It's new designs, increasing the assets that you have for your business.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So like, where can people follow you?
Go to the Facebook groups. I'm sure you're going to put them in the descriptions. I have an Amazon advertising group for all things Amazon advertising. And my new group that I just started, called it Merch Mechanics. I'll be putting some content out there. Yeah, that's where I would go. Starting a YouTube channel, but I haven't put anything on it yet. But the group is hit me up there.
Okay, cool, man.
You're already in it, so RJ's in it. Like, get everybody in there.
Yeah. I can get all. I'll put all the information down below. If you guys got a lot of value out of this video, make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up. We could go on for 3 or 4 or 5 hours, but we're not.
Yeah,
we'll
do this again.
We're gonna
save it.
All right, I gotta say we gotta do, because we could talk about more about AMS and go into more details and stuff like that. And I think that we kind of, the reason why we took it so long is we're just having fun. And then I think when we get into AMS, you can see that can be a whole nother interview, because obviously we said, all right, we're going to do 20-30 minutes, like an hour and 26 minutes. So I don't want to take too much of your time, but thanks, man. I really appreciate the time you took out of your day to come on and
this was fun.
Yeah, man. Spread some love. Hey,
my wife will appreciate it, talking to someone else about merch. So
okay, she's like, stop talking to me about that.
Yes, I get it.
No, but dude, the microphone, by the way, too, just a compliment. It sounds good. The voice sounds good, all that stuff. We just want to get that camera. We'll get the camera down from moving from the side, but I think you got it.
Yeah, I think I figured that out. It's like there was one piece that wasn't tight enough. Whatever.
Okay.
It's cool.
All right, Cameron. I appreciate it, man. I'm gonna call it right there. So.
All right, take it.